Hey, what up? So, what's happening in the world with COVID is just bureaucracy bottlenecking and everybody in like DSHS and SSI and any assistance that anybody needs is taken away, and everybody is like, it's running in circles, and it's people passing the buck, and it's really bad news. But with what I've experienced, for instance, meeting with the CEO of Columbia Wellness here in Longview, Washington, and I met with him once, and our meeting ended. It started because I called after Columbia Wellness had tried to impose insanity on me for writing on my blog. I wrote my suicide note from January 3rd, 2015 on my blog, and people I didn't even know called, and I had to defend my lack of being I wasn't suicidal, and for a 6-year-old event, I stood trial with Longview Police, supporting 3 times in one day. They came and I had to navigate through stress. But the whole point is that we need to make changes, and the people that are in power, Great Rivers Advisory Board, who governs 5 counties, including Cowlitz County, and the businesses that are offering services that they don't provide. For instance, Columbia Wellness, you can listen to their, you be on hold and listen to the garbage they provide. No assistance. They don't even listen. And what's important to understand is that people, you can go and find the statistics of drug addiction and suicide and all that, and see the terrible results of people being neglected. And with Columbia Wellness, for instance, and CMR Behavioral Health, and all these corporations with CEOs and fucking boards, they make money by seeping off the insurance company. If you have state insurance, they get paid for services they don't render. And the point is that with COVID and everything that's going on, the government has locked everybody below the poverty line in this death grip of being neglected and then driven to insanity. You could look at the statistics and see that the survivability, which means that you survive. You don't beat heroin addiction, you survive, is at around 7%. And these corporations that are required to supply services to clients, what they supply is neglect, and they don't listen. They don't like, crisis worker with autism will show up at your door and tell you by introducing himself, I have the authority that if you don't prove that you're not crazy, I can have these 3 officers put you in restraints to take you to Peace Health. And where you will be locked in your living nightmare with a doctor who's so educated he can't possibly understand. And that's the whole thing is you get educated, and the more you get educated, the more you get dumbed down. The more, if you have a PhD, you're the biggest idiot on earth. You have science, which is rendered irrelevant now with COVID. I mean, it was the FDA that said it's like 7 years or whatever the trial for testing on animals before a medication can be released. They released the vaccine immediately. And like, all these people are jumping, oh God, I gotta get the vaccine. Well, I've been exposed 4 different times, directly exposed, and never came down with COVID. But I beat heroin addiction, so I assume my immune system is well, I know it's I didn't get AIDS, I didn't get hep, I didn't die, and I'm not using heroin, right? Like, I don't, like, so I'm gonna be 50. And I wasn't ever planning, I never wanted to be 50. I never wanted to be this way because my mind was so full of noise. And these people, like at Great Rivers Advisory Board, these women, like, they're monsters. They don't have any real life experience to offer any kind of help, and they need to change because they allow businesses underneath their authority to get away with crime and get away with keeping that statistical 7% at a steady. It's ridiculous, and it's insane, and we have to stop. We have to stop letting complacency means that you passively watch and don't do anything, right? You just don't do anything. Well, it's time to start doing. It's time to start doing the right thing, because there's no other choice. You can't keep going the way it is because it's ridiculous. And you who have wealth or money, whatever it is, you aren't happy. You're in marriages that are dysfunctional and sick. And you can look at the divorce rate. Like the divorce is more like it's over 60%. I'm sure. I don't care about statistics because I know the facts. I've been married twice. My parents were married 12 times. 10 plus 2 times between the two of them. My mom, the 5th time she was married, was to a career Nevada highway patrolman who watched my mom abuse me, and then he threatened to abuse me if I didn't behave at 9 years old. And he did abuse me. His 2 sons, he had 3 kids, 2 of them died from suicide. One of them blew his head off in front of his brother, which took him out later. And his remaining daughter is an idiot who's gone through it. She was married 25 years and got a divorce, and now she's so dysfunctional she gets beaten up by her boyfriends. She's an idiot. And that's just it. She's a school teacher, so she's really an idiot. And the whole thing is that people send their kids to public school. That's a requirement. You have to go to school. And that's a society of children who have no mental ability, right? They're still forming, and they judge everything based on opinion. And these little societies of narcissistic assholes get to judge people like Kurt Cobain and myself and Chris Cornell and Eddie Vedder and all those people that were the outcasts and didn't fit in because they didn't have minds like everybody else. And so you need to take the restrictions off and realize that the 10% of your mind they told you use or you think you use, you need to blow through that and stretch because you have 90% to go. And I'm the evidence of a man who I heard that and realized, boom, I have more to grow, and I've got to the point where I'm in control of my mind. And to be a meat puppet, to follow your head around, is the most insane thing ever because you give all the power to a piece of meat, like you give your hand all the authority to do whatever it wants. And that's just lunacy. It's stupid. And you can't go get therapy that works. You can't go get counseling that works. You can't go to treatment. You can't get anything. The only help for the cure or the pain that you have inside, that great hole that you stuffed with materialistic and drugs and shit, you can't get help to fix that because nobody treats you like a person. They treat you like a client, and they listen and let you talk and then guess, well, you have this and you have that, and they want to diagnose and all this shit, but the diagnoses are all just garbage. They're science that they named these things. Well, it must be PTSD, these war veterans. But why does a war veteran end up, look at the statistics on war veterans now that come back and the suicide rate of war veterans, right? Because they take kids, 18-year-old kids that aren't formed and finished yet, they drill them into submission to where they want to kill. That's all they want to do. And once they go to war, they see things that the human mind is not supposed to ingest, right? Things that people who haven't been in the military, they don't ever witness unless they watch some documentary, right? But the documentaries just show you the surface and you don't get underneath and why these kids are going through and why they come home and our government neglects them and they end up on the street strung out dying and they're suicidal because they have pain from seeing such monstrosity of the world. And that's the crime. What happens to our brain is all those neural pathways are misshaped and formed in ways that makes it so you can't think. And the noise in your head, you can't meditate. You can't get quiet because the noise is so great. And by scrolling and doing all this stuff, you're just numbing and desensitizing. And you're doing yourself no service. And what you're doing is you're passing that on to your kids by putting your kids in those small societies or big societies and look at what happens to kids. And they go to kindergarten, and all of a sudden the kids get together and they have little cliques. And the ones that aren't like everybody, who don't think like everybody else, they get shoved aside. The ones who use their dictionary and then they don't think like everybody else, they get cast aside. And then they end up going through struggles. And you have like Kurt Cobain and all these artists that end up committing suicide because even the Kurt Cobain, for instance, his last message to Earth, looking for love inside, right, was, I hate myself and want to die. And you can buy the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack and hear his last-ditch effort that I hate myself because everybody loves me, but I don't feel loved inside because they just take from me. And I can't go to the bathroom in public without somebody wanting to take a picture of me. So the point is that you need to start thinking for yourself. Use your mind. as it's supposed to be used. Take control of your mind. Use your thought processes to navigate out of the pain you are, because you're handing your pain down to your kids. And you're going to go through bad relationships because you choose, your picker's broken. You follow your doctor's advice, which your doctor only wants to serve the prescription companies. The pharmaceutical companies is who your doctor serves. And I have facts. Everything I say is based on fact. And you can't get factual information nowadays. Look online and try to find truth. You can't find truth. And you don't know what to believe. And now with COVID, you're afraid of everybody. And the human mind, especially the weak ones, are afraid of everything they're not familiar with. And just because you don't have experience in something, you judge people based on what they look like without knowing. You couldn't walk a mile in their shoes. You couldn't walk a step in somebody else's shoes. Because your own sheltered life and your own retarded thinking, you couldn't survive on the street. You wouldn't know what to do. Here in Longview, two old people, retired people, I met at Longview United Methodist Church. They went on a 6-month journey across America and had me watch their house, right? While they were gone, they came back, and the one thing they had to say was, God, I couldn't believe how much garbage we like you can't go anywhere and not build up garbage. Well, look at the way the homeless population has to live. They have to survive on the same stuff that you do in your home, and look at the garbage everywhere, right? Because there's no reason at all. Right? There's and people who have opulence and have money judge homeless people as trash, but those are the people that were cast out by society because they didn't think like everybody else. And you think like everybody else, and that's the most retarded thing, because nobody thinks. Common sense is everybody's dumb. The more educated you get in a system, the dumber you get. And a specialist focuses on the body when the pain comes from the lack of being treated like a human. And you need to stop. It's just, it's sick. And common thinking is absolute lack of common sense. And common sense is a thing. And the contrary relationship between man and woman, man is a natural predator who doesn't want to have feelings and you don't cry and all that. And women are, I want to cry and I say, But that dynamic is instilled with dysfunction, right? And instead of using nature like lions or any pride animal or any animal that goes strictly by instinct, see, animals don't go to school and they still know how to survive. And what you don't see is because you don't pay attention, and you need to pay attention, and you need to learn what you're speaking and what you're thinking. And the misinformation that's passed around is greater than any information that's passed around, and anybody that makes any sense is they want to quiet. But change has to happen because you have to look at history. Dinosaurs aren't here anymore, and they were natural, they were instinctual, and here's man. And man can't learn from their own mistakes. And passive-aggressive bullshit now with social media, people get to sit in their home and look at something that makes them angry, makes them feel uncomfortable, and they can cast their opinion without ever facing somebody. And if you haven't faced somebody with a confrontation because you are afraid, which is what you are, you don't want to confront everybody, you are fake. You won't tell somebody the truth to their face because you don't want them not to like you. And I don't want any of you to like me. I don't like any of you. Especially you who think like everybody else, and that's not thinking. You're all just sheep, and you graze. You graze off of what they feed you, and your own life is miserable. You don't have happiness. You have the right to pursue happiness, which you don't understand the relevance of that statement itself. You have to get to the truth, and you have to be truthful, and if you don't stand for truth, especially your own truth, you're an idiot, and you will die miserable. And you can say you will or you won't. It doesn't make any difference what you say or you think, because the proof is in the pudding. Look at the divorce rate. Look at your own relationships and how your own relationships, like a woman gets into a relationship because she falls for a man's mystery, because a man's able to negotiate and he's a salesman. And his drive is to spread his seed everywhere. And women have allowed that to be cultivated to the point to where now infidelity and adultery and broken homes and damaged kids with addiction. And you blame your kids, but it's your fault. It's your fault because you didn't love them and you didn't listen to them, and you put them in a society of other kids that are really shitty. And the system is built to weed out the weird ones, the ones that think for themselves and that don't have the ability to use algebra and calculus. And if you can use calculus effectively, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot, because 1 + 1 = 2, not 1 + 1 + n = bananas. And that's what everything is based on, is science. And science is trial and error until something doesn't kill us. But the fact is that science comes out, and years later, like mesothelioma and the mesh implants that are causing people, they don't test it long enough to find out the problems, and now there's lawsuits coming out. Well, you have to go get retribution for this because this is killing people. Well, you're killing yourself by not using your fucking head. You need to take control of your mind and heal your own fucking pain. And you need to stop letting the lies be believable, because the criminals aren't the liars. The people who follow the liars are criminals. And you can't even see fact as it is. From the Obama presidency through Trump's and now into Biden's, the world has come and it's been crippled. And you can't deny that. 4 years, Donald Trump was able to cripple with business, the money-driven industry of the world, and you are a slave to the dollar. I make less than $200 a month, and I don't need a thing. I don't want money. I don't need money. Sure, I'd like to be able to go out and do stuff, but the fact is if I go out of my house and I have to deal with people who are so terrified of COVID and have to risk myself being inflicted with COVID. And the world that we live in today, with what I'm going through, they make me leave my house to go deal with people who are already set on fear. They don't know it. You don't know your own biology. And that's just the most ridiculous thing. And you need to look at the facts as they are. And the facts are that you were being blind, obedient, and ridiculous. And it's time to stop being blind, obedient, and ridiculous and stand up for yourself, because the only one that's suffering is you. You're letting other people get away with murder and with crime and with the survivability rate of addiction at 7% or 8%, whatever. It's pathetic. And the divorce rate is over 50% by far. And the fact is that it's because the dynamic of everything, the dichotomy of life is you've been crippled and you don't even know it. You think that you're perfectly healthy by not admitting that your own pain is, right? You don't have the ability to speak truthfully. And when you do speak, like I tell you, I speak truthfully to people and they treat me like shit, right? Because I make them uncomfortable because I tell them about themselves. God, you're a really mean person. But it's true. You can't assume anybody's nice today. You can't assume anybody is a good person anymore. Like, you can't give anybody the benefit of the doubt because everybody's running in fear. And they don't even understand that the part of your brain that keeps your heart beating and your eyes blinking and your fucking lungs working and your blood pumping, that part of your brain is set on fear. Your baseline is fear. And you cannot operate on fear and do anything effective. And you are in fear, you are locked in a death grip, and you just keep following along, and you believe what they tell you, so that makes you the complacent, the indifferent, the apathetic. That makes you the criminal. The liars just do what they do. You just keep biting the hook. So do something right with your life for once. Do something and get healthy. Do something and admit your own faults. And looking out past your nose at all your problems, you're the only common denominator in all your problems. The one common theme in every problem you have is you. You are a problem. You are the problem by being you and being ignorant. You think you get information, but you're like, where are you getting your information from? You can't find it in books. You can't even read the books. You can't even look at American history and see what it is, right? You think, oh, well, America, the free land, home of the brave. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. It's the land of the illusion. It was driven by white men. And look at all the small battles, the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter? Really? Really? A black person has to have a battle to just matter? No. What? He's a human being. She's a human being, just like you. We're all equals, and money doesn't define human beings. You can't take it with you, right? Well, by allowing those little battles to be waged, and by allowing women to have to go to court to face the man who raped them and then be labeled a woman hater, right? Like, look at the Supreme Court hearings here, 3 years ago, when that man and his buddies did horrible shit, and those women came in and testified, and that man got his seat on the Supreme Court by making those women liars. Dude, really? You don't even understand that when you went to, if in America or any school, you went to school and you got a rape vibe, that ugly feeling when you go into a club and you just, it feels really bad. It's because you're surrounded by men who want to rape you. And that's all a man wants to do is get off. And you pick husbands who won't keep you safe. And that's just the most lunacy. Like, you pick a man that makes you insecure and feeds your insecurity, makes you feel ugly, calls you a fatty or calls you whatever, because he's judging you on the outside. And as a woman, like I know for a fact that men send more dick pics than it's like it's criminal. And so a woman is getting inundated with men fishing for that one woman that's weak enough to think, oh, that guy's got a big dick. If a man has, and that's the best he has to offer you, you're gonna have buyer's remorse, and that's what divorce is. Stop buying. And no matter what you buy, your home, your gold and your trinkets, you're not happy. You can say you're happy, you're not fucking happy. You're not happy. If you've been in a long-term marriage, you're with somebody who treats you like shit and you guys just tolerate each other. And it's not love. There is no love. Love is a four-letter word that's the worst curse word ever, because somebody tells you I love you without actions, and that's where your insecurities come from. But your insecurities come from being told that you're a physical being, and you're not a physical being. Your body is just a purpose to get you through, to learn lessons. And you don't know what lessons are, like school. You didn't know what the fucking test was going to be, but you had to study. But they gave you an open book test so you could fucking pass, so their numbers were going up. You tested at SATs, and your SATs stained your record. And you got into colleges with college debt, and then you got built into the system. You have to work to pay off the debt. It's all just lunacy, and it just has to stop. Because if it doesn't stop, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you do nothing, because sooner or later, and time is a measurement of pain. It's a man-made. If you look at nature doesn't keep. A lion doesn't wear a watch. We're killing everything on Earth. But the thing is we don't own the Earth. The Earth owns us, and we just think that we own the Earth. And the fact is that look at the documentary, the year the Earth changed on Apple TV, and see how in just a short time, right? All of the hundreds of years of pollution and stuff, in a matter of weeks, was the animals were doing their best. Like without us in the way, they were doing better, right? And so all the conservation and all that passive bullshit is just, it's so ineffective, right? And you can see, look at we have species we haven't even identified yet that have gone extinct. So, do something different. Do something better with your life. Do something better for you by doing a real assessment. Look inside. Don't look past your nose at your problem, because if you're looking outward and pointing your finger at your problem, you're not looking at the problem, because you perpetuate all your own problems. And by being an idiot and blaming everybody else for things that you don't even know, you're doing no good for yourself, and you're building everything into your own life for misery. And you'll go see a therapist, you'll go see a psychiatrist and your doctor, and the only person who will figure out what was wrong with you is the mortician who does your autopsy, to find out, oh my God, look at this. And you know, how many, I had a friend just die from stage 4 cancer who her doctor had neglected until, we found you have cancer. Too late, she died, right? That's what happens. And that's what's happening in your life. You just don't know it. You don't even know it. Stop believing, and stop allowing the lies to be believed, and start doing real factual information, and dig up your own truth, because your own truth is the only one that's going to give you any freedom. And until you do something for yourself by being a better human being, you're just going to be miserable, and you deserve it. If you want to continue being miserable, good for you, because you're just like everybody else. And you can't even see your own classmates, your 20-year reunion, all those people that were most likely to succeed and popular, they're all miserable and fat drunks, and they beat their wives, and they've got divorces, and they've got kids that are fucking junkies. And you go in there and you try to show off, oh, look what I became, and you became nothing, because you go out and those people will never talk to you again. So just stop. Do something right for once. Do something right for once in your life. You've never done anything right, and you need to do something right by thinking for yourself and taking control. And stop letting other people tell you how to live your life and you go, okay. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. Stop being fucking stupid.